I don't know if you're like me and the Bible can be difficult for you to study at times. I want to give you 3 tips that completely transformed my study time. Why don't you leave a like on this video and let's get into it. Number 1, context is king. I cannot understand what the Bible is actually saying if I don't know the context behind the message. Let's say, for example, I just showed you a random email or a random text message in my phone. You would not know the proper context in which this message was sent, delivered, who it was to, who sent what message. You have to understand the context of the conversation if you're actually going to understand the contents of the text. And the same is true with the Bible. If you're actually going to understand the contents of the scripture, then you must understand the context in which the scripture is written. You have to ask the text questions. One of the things I always tell people is that you should start asking the text at least 5 questions. Number 1 is who? Who is the author of this book? Who is the person who God decided to create this book? Also, who is this person writing to? They're not just writing just to write, they're writing to specific people in a specific culture at a specific time. That leads me to question number 2. So, who, what? What? What is this book about? What does this text actually say, communicate, mean? Uh, if I don't know what this text is saying, then I cannot really understand what the text means. So, who, what, when? When was this written? Was this written way before Jesus? Was this written after Jesus? Was this written during the time of Jesus? When a book in the Bible was written actually matters because it allows us to date what was going on during that period of time, what was going on in that culture. Number 4 is where. Where? Where is this book taking place? Are we in ancient Israel? Are we in Rome? Are we in Corinth? Where are these books taking place? Because again, if I understand the location of these books, then I will understand the story and the narrative of what these books are trying to communicate. Lastly, how? How does this book apply to my life? Who, what, when, where, how? If you're having trouble sort of studying the Bible, those are 5 great questions for you to start asking the text. Okay, number 2, the Bible is not about you. I'm sorry to inform you. The scriptures is not about you. One of the things that I love to tell people is like, hey, the Bible is written for you, but the Bible is not written to you. It's an entirely different thing for you to read the Bible as if it was written to you. Because if I read the Bible as it was written to me, then I'll start to misinterpret and misconstrue the meaning of the scripture. I have to know that the scripture is written for me, but it's not written to me. If I take Jeremiah 29:11 and say, oh, God's talking about me, then I can actually miss the main message of the scripture. I have to know what the Bible is talking about in its proper context and understand that not every scripture is about me, but it's about me. Lastly, you have to understand that you're reading 2 stories simultaneously. You're not just reading one story. You're not just reading one narrative. You're actually reading 2 stories at the exact same time. You're reading God's cosmic plan for humanity, but then you're also reading the story and the narrative that's taking place within this scripture. It's one thing to just think that you're reading about the Romans, Paul's letter to the Romans, or to think that you're reading about the book of Genesis, but actually what you're reading is you're reading a part of God's divine plan for humanity. And so it's always helpful for me to look at whatever passage that I'm reading from a worm's eye view in terms of what's going on in this actual text with these actual people in this specific time, culture, period. And then also look at the text from God's cosmic plan, a bird's eye view of this text. How does this piece of literature fit into God's divine plan for humanity? Listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more tips, tricks, or just to understand the Bible better, then I think you should head over to www.eatthescroll.com. I host a program called Scroller U, where each week we tackle different theological, hermeneutical topics to help you understand the Bible better for yourself. We're helping you build biblical knowledge one class at a time. I hope to see you there. I love you. Can't wait to see you again.